The NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 is available now, starting at $499. That price is simply where the RTX 3070, including the Founders Edition reviewed here, will start, as aftermarket cards will be priced higher as additional features are added. To put the level of performance on offer with the RTX 3070, you're essentially getting for $499. What would cost you $1,199 with the RTX 2080 Ti in early September 2020? The performance for the price on offer with the RTX 3070 makes this easily the best NVIDIA GeForce graphics card at launch in terms of value, but even today, it is only eclipsed by the RTX 3060 Ti in terms of money spent for every point scored on a benchmark or frame per second achieved while gaming. The competing card from Team Red we tested in our AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT review offers about the same value as the RTX 3070 when it comes to gaming, with slightly lower performance for a slightly lower price. So if you're looking for the best gaming graphics card at this price point, AMD's mid-range card is definitely a viable alternative, but the RTX 3070 just smokes the RX 6700 XT in creative workloads. The NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 is powered by the Ampere GA104 GPU. This GPU has 5,888 CUDA cores spread across 46 streaming multiprocessors, based on the same NVIDIA Ampere architecture as the RTX 3080 and RTX 3090. And, as with those cards, there are a ton of improvements both to raw performance and to power efficiency here that drive this mid-range graphics card to performance levels matched only by the very best graphics card of the last generation. So, while the RTX 3070 only boosts SM count up by 27%, it more than doubles the CUDA core count, which massively boosts raw rasterization performance. Ray tracing especially is much faster, as this new RT core brings twice the throughput as the first generation RT core found on graphics cards, like the one in our NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 review. This is why, in ray tracing heavy workloads like the 3D Mark Port Royal benchmark, the RTX 3070 is able to keep up with the RTX 2080 Ti. Even though the last generation flagship has many more RT cores. The NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 is also the only graphics card in the Ampere lineup with a reasonable level of power consumption with a TGP total graphics power rating of 220W, 100W less than the RTX 3080. That's a whole lot of jargon, but what's important here is that while the RTX 3070 is a much smaller chip, it's able to pack way more meat into it at a lower price, making last-generation flagship performance available to the mainstream. But beyond just straight generational improvements to the architecture, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 brings a ton of features that are going to be super useful, whether you're into PC gaming or are just stuck in an endless cycles of video calls. NVIDIA Reflex, on the other hand, is available now and simply cuts latency between your CPU and GPU by clearing out the render queue, so frames are only rendered when they're needed. The NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition is very reminiscent of the rest of the Turing cards, but it's much smaller. Thanks to the lower power and cooling requirements of the mid-range card, it's still a dual-slot card, but it's much shorter, measuring just 9.5 inches long, making it much easier to fit into smaller cases than something like the RTX 3080, which is nearly a foot long at 11.2 inches, unlike its bigger siblings. However, the RTX 3070 has both its fans on the same side of the cooler, rather than the unique push-pull configuration that the RTX 3090 and RTX 3080 Founders Editions feature. This solution isn't quite as efficient as either the RTX 3080 or RTX 3090, but it doesn't really need to be. So, the RTX 3070 still reaches a peak temperature around 72 degrees centigrade, even with the lower power consumption. The NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 is such an awesome piece of hardware, precisely because it brings a flagship-level performance to the mid to high-end market. In test after test, the GeForce RTX 3070 provides extremely smooth gamma play and performance at 4K, and enables high frame rate performance at lower resolutions. Even in hard-to-run titles like Horizon Zero Dawn and Red Dead Redemption 2, the RTX 3070 provides incredible performance, scoring 75 FPS and the latter title at 1080p, with everything but MSAA maxed out. But what's more impressive is that in Red Dead Redemption 2, as it is across the rest of the lineup, the RTX 3070 is within margin of error of the RTX 2080 Ti across the testing suite. Just take a look at the 3D times by Extreme Test. The RTX 3070 scores 6,990 to the RTX 2080 Ti's 6,986. The RTX 2080 Ti and RTX 3070 trade blows throughout our lineup, and there's not a single test where the RTX 2080 Ti pulls significantly ahead. In fact, the biggest difference between the two graphics cards is in Grand Theft Auto V, where the RTX 3070 scores 96 FPS to the 2080 Ti's 86 FPS.